Hi VBS kids, welcome to craft class today. We are going to make something that's environmentally friendly and beautiful and useful. So you're learning all about how to stay healthy. And I know one of the easiest things to do is take a bar of soap and wash your hands under running water for 20 seconds, singing maybe the birthday song twice, I think. So that's one good way of staying healthy. And then another way is to keep mosquitoes away. A couple years ago, you learned in VBS that mosquitoes in other countries like Zimbabwe cause malaria, and that's a bad sickness that can cause people to die. So they need ways to keep mosquitoes away. So an effective repellent would be the smell of eucalyptus and lemon oil. So today we are going to make a candle that smells like that. So we're ready to get started. The first thing was that you learned about sustainable development goals, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you have to choose your own goal and learn about it, and then every time we light this candle, you're going to be able to pray about your sustainable development goal. We want you to draw a picture of it, whatever your goal is. I chose the life on land as my goal. So I drew a little picture here that is going to fit. I'm going to cut it out and I can tape it right onto the side of my candle when I make it. And then every time I'll remember about life on land is so important. The bees are so important, and trees and flowers, and biodiversity is so important. So you pick your sustainable development goal, make a picture of it, have that ready before you make your candle. So the next thing you need to do then is choose your mold for your candle. A really great thing is to maybe go through your recycling and find a jar. There's also jars that they sell in the store like this, little mason jars, which are good because they can take the heat of a candle. Or if you have an older candle that was used up, this is still a good glass mold that we can use. A lot of these things you can just take them with a little bit of the candle left in it, have your mom or dad help you, put it in the oven on the lowest setting that you have for 10, 20, 30 minutes. Time it up, keep looking at it. The wax will melt. You can dump it out into a safe container, and then you can wipe out the jar, and then you can reuse it. So that's what I'm going to do today, is reuse it. And this is my mold for today. So the first thing we're going to do is prep. So we need a nice flat surface that we're going to work on. I've got some newspapers handy here in case I need them to pour when I'm pouring the wax so that it doesn't spill on any of my nice tables. I've got oven mitts and tongs, and the first thing that I am going to do is preheat my oven to the lowest setting that it will go on, because we're going to cure our candle in that oven. So I'm going to turn the oven on to a very low setting and have it preheating while I'm doing all of this. What kind of supplies we need is you've got your mold, you've got wax, and this is honey bee wax, which is the finest wax that you can get. This comes naturally, made by the bees. It smells wonderful. It has a sweet smell of honey and the pollen and the flowers and the trees and the bushes that all the bees visit. So fragrance-wise, it's a beautiful wax. It has a high burning temperature, but it doesn't smoke, and it doesn't sputter, and it doesn't spit. So it's highly prized as a candle. You're also going to need some fragrance oil, and in this case, it should be eucalyptus lemon oil or citronella. Those are both fragrances that keep mosquitoes away. You're going to need a wick, and wicks come in packages like this or in pre-made packages that they kind of look like this inside the package. Anybody who wants to make a candle, I have wax for you and I have wicks for you, so just get in touch with me. Okay, and then you're going to need a melting pot, which in this case is a tin can, and that's where I'm melting my wax in. And a big pot to put water in. The water is what heats up, and then the wax melting pot sits in that water. So there's about 3 inches of water in this pot. Or you could use a double boiler. This is a double boiler. You put water in there. It does not touch the top pan. You put the top pan in. You can put your wax in there and it melts from the steam underneath it. I chose, since I was only making a few candles, I chose to use something that I can recycle, this pouring melting pot. And then also you need a stove, you need some stirrers and sticks, and you need some scissors to cut your candle wick with. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started heating things up. So you can use the double boiler, as I said, or put about 3 inches in a big deep pot like this. Get that water close to boiling. It does not have to boil. In fact, you don't want it to boil. You just keep it, once it gets pretty warm, you shut it down to low and then just let it sit there. You break up your wax into small pieces. They don't have to be real small, but just know that the smaller the piece, the quicker it melts. So you can break them up into bite-sized pieces and put them into your melting pot, whether it's a double boiler or whether it's just a can like this. And you put them in there. I've already put mine in there, and it takes maybe about, depending on how small or how big the piece is and how much wax you want, maybe 30 minutes to get that to melt. So that's the thing you want to get started first. You go ahead and get that melting. I'm going to keep it in the water to keep it nice and melted. Okay, one of the first things, once that melts, you're going to take your wick, which when you take it out of this way, when you get it in the roll, it's really flexible. So you need to dip it into the wax to get it pre-coated with wax. So I've already done this one before, but I'm going to do it again. So I just dip that into the wax, and when it comes out, I can let it sit there a little bit, and then as soon as I can touch it, I can pull it and hold it taut. And then that pre-sets your wick and makes it a little stronger. So straighten it out. And then, while it's still a little bit warm, put a little foot on it. And that little foot is going to sit down in the bottom of your jar. So I think we're actually ready to dip a little bit more. We've got the little foot on there. I don't know if you can see that. So we're going to dip it again and see if we can get some more wax on it and put it right into the center of our jar, and take our stir stick and press it down to the bottom of the jar. And then in just a few seconds, it's dry already and it's holding that down. And then you'll need something to support your wick up at the top. So you can have a pencil that has a flat sides on it. You could use a popsicle stick. You could use a stick from outside under a tree. You are going to take the wick and wrap it around the stick and gently, don't pull it off the bottom, but firmly get it to wrap around there so that it's straight and standing up straight, and then you're going to center that in the middle of your mold. So it's attached to the bottom and it's centered in the middle of the mold and it's being held upright. Okay. now, back to the wax, if we want to add anything to it like color or fragrance, now is the time. So we check our liquid wax, we make sure it's all melted. If we wanted to add color, we could use parts of an old candle. This is a part of an old candle, some wax. I could just break up the pieces, put it in there, and let it melt right now. If you wanted to make your own custom color, you could use crayons. Add little pieces of that, put it in. I don't recommend you use a whole bunch of different colored crayons because you end up with the color black. All the colors together make black. So, unless you're going for a black candle, you might want to be very careful with that. So you stir in your color, you would put that in now, and you would stir in your color. Then, once it's all melted, I'm going to take a tray, like a cookie sheet would be good. This is a small cookie sheet. And I'm going to put my candle on it. I could also put a piece of paper, some paper or paper towels on that to catch any drips if I was worried about it. So I can put that on there like that. And that's so I can easily carry it. And say you were going to do a whole bunch of them, they would all fit on there and you could easily carry them that way. So if you want to add fragrance, the eucalyptus oil, we need to remove the wax from the heat. So we're going to take that off. It's nicely melted inside of the melting pouring pot. And take some of our fragrance. It'll kind of tell you on the jars usually how much to use for different things. So this will only take a couple of drops to put in there. So you could put 5 drops, 6 drops, and you can kind of smell it, see it how you like it. And then the important thing is to take your stirring stick and go in there and stir that for about 2 to 3 minutes, because the fragrance molecules have to bond to the wax molecules, and it takes that much agitation for that to happen. So remember to do that. Okay. And then we're ready actually to go ahead and pour the melted wax into the candle mold. The can could be hot, and it's not too bad. The wax is definitely hot, and you could probably get burned if you get it on your skin. So have your parents help you, or be very careful. This is a silicone mitt, which keeps the heat away from my hand. And actually, this can being tall, I can actually take it and hold it. And I'm going to pour that liquid wax right down into that candle holder, into the mold. And I had measured how much I would need. I poured water into the mold, and then I measured that water, and it said that I needed 4 ounces, it was 4 ounces of water in there. So then I weighed my wax, and I needed 4 ounces of wax. So turned out pretty good, I think. Right measurement. I'm glad about that. This is still a little bit hot, so we want to be careful. There's not very much left in it because I had pre-measured. So now we're going to take this and put it in the oven. Carefully, and that, remember that oven was preheated to the lowest temperature. I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to turn off the oven, and I'm going to leave that in there overnight. It's going to cool overnight. The little bit of warmth in that oven will keep the wax adhering to the outside glass on the mold, and it won't crack as much. So then tomorrow afternoon when I get up, I can open the oven, I can take it out, and I'm going to, if this was it, I would take it out and then I would let it sit on my countertop for another day to let it totally cure. And then once it's cured, I would take my scissors and let's pull that one out of there. Once it was totally cured, I would take this out and I would be able to straighten my wick out, the extra wick, and I would take my scissors and cut it till it's about 1/4 of an inch long. No longer than that, just 1/4 of an inch. And then, voila, you are ready to put your, I think mine fell on the floor over here. Attach your sustainable development goal picture onto the side of it. And then every time you light that, you're going to be praying for your sustainable goal. And since it's a mosquito repellent candle, you can pray for all those children in Zimbabwe who are afflicted with the mosquitoes trying to give them malaria. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you had a fun time making your candle, and maybe you'll send me pictures of it. Okay, thanks. Bye.